Hey everyone, it is Hunter Fireflower, and in this video I'll be doing a quick summary of Star Wars Eruption by John Ostrander. This short story is actually in Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. It's a short story that's after the novel. This story takes place right before Into the Void, and it's when we see Hawk Rowe, which is this Twi'lek we see on the screen, as well as Lannery Brock, which we see in Void. So without further ado, let's begin. The story takes place on one of the moons of, I believe it's pronounced Aubrey. This moon is Xerist, and Xerist is this volcanic planet that always has volcanoes erupting, and whenever these volcanoes erupt, the population has these alarms that go off, kind of like you would think of like World War II bomb alarms. And basically, once those alarms go off, the population go into hiding so that they can avoid the eruption. In addition, most of Xerist makes all of its money off of mining facilities. There's a lot of mines that are on the entire planet around these volcanoes. Underneath the surface of the planet, though, there are these vast oceans. And it describes them as oceans, but I'm wondering if they're just supposed to be like caverns with tons of water. But anyways, it's described as being oceans in these caverns, and there's these minerals that are bioluminescent, and they just line up the caverns, and the entire place gets lit up by all of the bioluminescence going on down there. This story takes place in a town called Canaan with our Twi'lek friend here, the blue Twi'lek, Hawk Rowe. And Hawk Rowe is a Jedi Ranger, and if you're not quite familiar, Jedi Rangers are basically like Jedi Knights, except for way in the past. And they basically are sent on missions, and their job is to ensure peace among the Typhon system. If you haven't already, I suggest you watch Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void video I made. I go into a little bit more detail about their philosophy and how they view the light and the dark. But anyways, they're basically sent off to go make solutions and help people in need. So Hawk is investigating in the city, and one of the volcanoes erupting, and there's tons of the locals are just running and scattering so that they can escape all of the lava that's coming. But he notices one of the buildings still has people in it, and he sees these Twi'lek guards on top of the roofs, and he's a little suspicious because everyone else is running, but you still have guards guarding this building. Hawk then brings out his comm and he calls his partner, who is Lannery Brock. She is the main protagonist in Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void, and she is this human Jedi Ranger, and she's not with him at the moment. Right now, Lannery's actually underground in those caverns, and she's overseeing negotiations between the Desane family as well as the workers. The Desane family owns one of these local mines, and the workers believe that they're not really, the family is not really listening to what they need in terms of their work environment and what actually should be done with the production of the mine. They're kind of a little skeptical of what's going on, and the workers feel like they're out of the loop from the family. And the main guy leading the workers is this guy named Arco Santis. He's the one calling all the shots and basically speaking on behalf of the workers at this table. The Desane family, on the other hand, says, you know, we're listening to you, but they kind of want to keep the power of the mine in the family. They don't want to give it to the workers. They just want to keep the power for themselves. And the Desane family is being led by Emin, who's the patriarch of the family. They agreed to have Arco's son, Brahm, and then Emin's daughter, Oma, marry each other so that they can make some type of beneficial relationship for both of them. Because if they are married and they have children, then their children will rule over the mine, and you'll have the workers, you know, they'll basically become a big whole family. However, Oma is missing, and the workers believe that the Desanes took her away because they don't want the marriage to happen, and they believe that they're hiding her so that they can just keep control of the mine and wait until this whole like marriage ordeal blows over. So Hawk is sent out by the Jihadi Council to see if he can find Oma and basically resolve the situation along with Lannery. So Hawk is sent to go find her while Lannery is staying at the negotiation table, and her job is to make sure that nothing gets out of hand, because at this point they're basically at each other's throats. And anything that tips the scale just a little bit more and all hell will break loose. So while Hawk is outside of this house, watching the guards, he does a quick search of the local spaceport to see who has been coming in and out of the spaceport, and he notices that his brother, who obviously would also be a Twi'lek, has one of his ships stationed there. His brother is a crime lord, and he actually is in the business of mining. So he's a little suspicious because he's like, my brother's here, Oma's missing, who, is in this rich family of mining. I think my brother might be involved. There's Twi'lek guards up on the roof. Something is kind of fishy going on, and I'm not sure quite what it is, but he believes his brother is involved with the kidnapping. As Hawk is still investigating and doing his research and doing a little look around of the building, Lannery is just sitting there, and she's just like, God help me, because she has to listen to all of this fighting back and forth, insulting, name calling. They're calling each other, saying like, "Oh, you stole Oma. You're hiding her," or the Sins think that they stole Oma, and that just to make everything worse. But then the workers are like, "You're keeping her away from us so that we won't have the marriage and stuff like that." And Lannery actually has to take out her blaster and fire it just to prevent them from like killing each other almost. So tensions are very high, and they're trying to get Oma back as quickly as possible so that everything could be okay again. Hawk then infiltrates the building. He has to kill a few guards along the way, and he uses the dark side of the Force to do this. One thing, Jihadi Rangers at this time, they use the light and the dark. So it's not like what we think of stereotypical Jedi, where they use just the light side. They use the dark side and the light side. So anyways, he has to kill a few guards along the way, and then he finds Oma is basically bound and gagged or whatever, and she's, in the building, and there's a few other guards talking, and they're talking about how there is somebody going to kill the Jedi that's at the negotiations, so that the whole conflict will escalate, and then they were ordered to kill Oma immediately once the Jedi is dead. Hawk kills the guards, and then he saves Oma, and he uses his comm to call Lannery, and then basically right when he calls her, he's like, "Hey, you're in trouble," and she's like, "Yeah, I know, it's already settled." And what basically happened was, while Lannery's at the negotiations, one of these servants was offering her this fine wine. She takes up the glass, and she kind of swirls it a little bit, and she's a little suspicious, and she kind of has this feeling that something's off, that her drink might be poisoned. So she then confronts the servant, who is apparently this longtime servant of the Desane family, and he basically goes on this rant how he's been a longtime servant, but he wants to leave their servitude, and he's kind of like a forced slave almost thing going on. So he's basically just really pissed off. They then capture him, and then the whole situation, like, she's basically saved because she sensed it through the Force or whatever. So Hawk brings Oma back to the negotiations. Everyone's happy that Oma's survived, and they're about to go through, like the whole marriage process thing, and Oma says, "I don't want to marry Arcos." And everyone's just like, "What, really? You don't want to marry him?" So then she comes up with this idea that, instead of having to marry him, why don't we just stay with the other family for half the year? So for instance, since Oma was part of the same family, she would then stay with the workers for half the year, and then the other half of the year she would actually stay with her family, so that you become basically part of both families, and you get to hear both parts, or both parties, of what they want and what they want to have done with the mine. Everyone is somehow happy with this, so they're just like, "Yeah, sure, you guys will just stay with us for half the year, and we'll swap off so there's no marriage." So the whole marriage thing gets, they don't even do the marriage. But that's what happens, and everyone's just happy. Hawk and Lannery are just like, "Phew, finally, this is done." They're about to leave, and then they're talking to each other about what their next station's gonna be. So Lannery says to Hawk, "Oh, I have a message from the Jedi Council. It's an important message. I'm going back to Tython." So this basically, what she said is what's leading up to Into the Void, because when she goes to Tython, she then gets her mission from the Jihadi Council, and that's basically that whole plot. So this short story literally takes place right before the book. So you don't really have to read the short story to understand the book, but it's like an introduction. Hawk then says that he's going to Fury's Gate, which you actually see in this comic panel here. This is a comic panel of Dawn of the Jedi, Force Storm, I believe is what this one's in. It might not be Force Storm, it might be a later one. He's going to the Fury's Gate, which is the outermost planet in the Typhon system, and it's basically like the station that monitors if anything's going to be coming into the system. If you watch the Into the Void video, you would know that no one can leave the Typhon system, because the Typhon system is basically, you just can't leave. There's dark matter that protects it. So basically, everyone at Fury's Gate just ensures that no one is coming into the system that could be a threat. So he's going there, and if if you read the Dawn of the Jedi comics, this story literally takes place right before those comics. So I'll be doing a review on those comics as well. But literally, this short story sets up the book as well as the comics, and that's really the end of the short story. It's not really anything to brag about. I mean, it is just a short story, and it's just to introduce you to both of these characters that are both in other stories as well. I know Hawk's family, it goes into much more detail when you read the comics, and Lannery, you hear all about her family and her brother when you read the book, Into the Void. So that's about it for this video. I will be making those comic summary. So if you don't want to read the comics, I'll just make a whole video that summarizes all of those comics as well. And if you want to have a summary of Into the Void, I also have that as well. Anyways, guys, this is the full summary of Star Wars on the Jedi Eruption. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps my channel. If you want to see similar content to this, please subscribe. I make videos like this all the time. I'm starting to, at least. So if you really like this content, please subscribe. It really helps me a lot. I'll be making more videos about legends and non-legends, so please pay attention for those videos. But anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Stay frosty.